Good morning, everyone. Today is Sunday, September the 3rd. It is approximately 3:41 a.m. Tokyo time. So I'm thinking it's about 2:41 Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. But I'm going to do two videos. One is going to be broad market action, and then the other one is going to go through the specific holdings that everybody asked about in the Benzinga chat. All right, so that's what we're looking at. I want to look at the monthly charts because we just started a new month, and I think this is very, very important. The new month shows us looking at this potential formation. All right, so July, really upward. August, a fade that broke this low, but then corrected and has come into and above 443. And then the current month of September is holding the close of August, but not breaking through. So here's what we're going to look at. The break above 453.70. You're going to watch people argue there. But once it gets above there, it's going to be a long, and they're going to try and get into 456. Here is how the market's working. It's being very swift and volatile. So when you think a breakdown's coming, watch those edges, see if you can confirm them on a 4-hour chart, as well as this monthly chart. And then you're going to walk it down, not expecting that it's going to take days or weeks, but literally hours into the next target. All right, the market is very volatile. It's moving very, very rapidly. So very easy setup in SPY for the coming week, in my mind, if we look at the monthly chart. If we dig a little deeper, it gets messy. So go where it's simple, and then plan your strategy from there. So if we do that, we can go to the 2-hour chart, and we can actually see that price action is breaking and still holding. All right, let me maximize this 2-hour. Look at the volume profile. It's got a pretty good size profile right there, right? Traders spending several days sitting in this formation. But notice, look what happens. This is the breakout. Remember, these are lines that I drew from monthly. And so it broke out of that edge, moved to the north, and now it's coming back to test that edge. So the first people that are going to come in there are buyers. All right? Notice they tried to come in at about 3 o'clock Eastern time, because Thinkorswim, I did not change it from the time clock. I did not change the time clock. And so at about 3 p.m., it tried to bounce, could not breach the high, and indeed could not breach the prior day's high either. And so to me, that says we've got ourselves in a pullback. Now, statistically speaking, something like Sentiment Trader says that the first Tuesday after Labor Day, which is always on Monday, that first Tuesday has a tendency to drift into support and then take hold of more upside pressure. So my suspicion is, look at the trend line, right? Linear regression says we're bullish. If we go to the daily, we're also bullish. And so what this tells us is that the pullbacks are going to be buy zones. We are still sitting very squarely in pullback sequential buy zones. So where are we going to look for? A low volume node, potentially. A round number, maybe 447. We know this number. It's familiar to us, right? So putting in the lines, we'll say, oh, all right, let's see if they can come in here. Old resistance, new support. We could try that bounce. You could also say, hey, listen, if it opens up and it's below 450, the next bounce that gives me a lower high, like let's say it breaks down here and then it bounces just a little bit, I'm going to take the short and watch it come down into the area, because I know it's going to be a short, but it's not going to be a short where I can take it and then go off to the beach. All right? So you're going to have to watch for that. Let's take a look at the cues. All right, the cues are in the same sort of shape. Let's look at the monthlies. Pardon the sniffles. As some of you know from the notes that I left, I picked up a terrible cold somewhere in this trip, and so I'm just trying to get over it. Drinking hot tea at 3 in the morning. All right, so here we are. We closed Friday underneath the low of August. Excuse me, underneath the close of August. So the formation should tell us, all right, let's see. Close, oh son of a gun. Let's see approximately what that is. 377.85. All right, and so this is where the close is, and we were 377.59, so we closed underneath there. So we've got high, lower high, lower high, low, lower low, higher low. Here's the thing, if we break the low of this current candlestick, we're going to have more downside action into this area. So what's actually holding up the cues right now? We could argue that it's NVIDIA. We could argue a ton of things, right? But we don't really care. What we want to see is, how does price respond at 377.85? And we can look at this over here on the 2-hour chart and see that it really does try to bounce, 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 bounce. And then here, now all of a sudden it's resistance. So two things are going to happen, right? One of two things is going to happen. We're going to recover this. Notice, we're underneath this line, but we're also making higher lows. All right? And the trend is upward. So if the trend is upward and I'm making higher lows, what does that tell me? It tells me I should have a bounce. So here's the thing. If the cues come in and they get above 377.85, it's going to stop out all the traders who are short here, and it's going to run us right up into this area, 379.60. At that point, it should be done. To fade, that's one scenario. The second scenario that I suspect is that it bounces and immediately heads back down below 377.85, loses the low of 2 days ago, 2 trading days ago, of 376, and then it fades down into 373, right? If we take a look at the daily, we can see the chart is in really good shape. It's by the dip, for sure. The monthly chart is telling us, hang on, we've got a little bit of a shift. So yes, we buy the dip. We certainly do buy the dip. However, we're not going to buy it and just simply hold it. If it breaks above the high of this new monthly candle at 380, we've got bullish action that's likely going to take us to 383. Okay? That's my suspicion. And that 383 is potentially going to be sideways after that, but I do not know. What I do know is, as I mentioned earlier, that the speed of motion is going to be significant. So let's take a look at something else, because a lot of people are talking about small caps and how a small caps is going to have a resurgence. So here's the thing. Monthly bullish action, which I think is very surprising. Weekly bearish action, just by the slope of the linear regression channel. Daily upside action, and then 2 hours upside action. So clearly we're sitting in a buy the dip event. Okay? From the monthly perspective, this is the only chart that is sitting well above the close of the prior month. And so that is incredibly interesting to me. because of that, a lot of people are thinking, hey, small caps are going to have a resurgence, blah, blah, blah. Now, I don't know how small caps are going to actually outperform with the cost of capital being very big, but I know that people are talking about it. And so this IWM formation could end up giving us upward trajectory. I just don't think it's for long. I really don't. And the reason that I don't think it's for long is because of the cost of capital, right? If capital is cheap, then small companies who do not have other resources are going to get a chance to move to the upside. But when capital becomes expensive under these interest rates, things are going to move. A lot of people saying, hey, well, the Fed's done. They're not going to raise any more, right? But we do see from the Fed funds futures that we don't have one. They're thinking we've got nothing in September, but that we might have something in November. All right, so that being said, small caps, everybody's got sort of the fever for them right now. I don't know what to tell you there, but I will say this. If I'm above the close of the prior month and I gapped, and I'm above the open of the current month, then it tells me pullbacks or buy zones, right? When is this going to be wrong? If I lose 189.90, I'm going to position out here, and it's going to send all the buyers back down into frontline support, and they might pick it up again, right? Because this is a low, this is a higher low, this is a high, this is a lower high. So it could easily be carving out some sort of thing. If we move past the high of last week, looks to me like the traders, I need to get this one out of here, remove. Looks to me like the traders are going to say, you know what, I'm going to head up into 194 and potentially 200 again. Now, I don't know how realistic that is. It could happen though. And the reason it could happen is because low, higher low, higher low, you're seeing it all over the place. And if it's higher lows, buyers are in the mix. Okay? So that's it for these. Now, for let's go to USO. I don't really like looking at USO because I don't think it's that good, but it went off the rails, really upside. So this is because of the chatter of OPEC saying, hey, listen, we're going to cut supply, and we know, technically speaking, there's a lot of bullish momentum for oil, okay? But this one, I believe, is overdone. So take a look. We're at the top here. We're at the 50% range here. No, 25%. No, 50%, excuse me. Here, almost at the top, near the 80. And this one also has a little bit of upside pressure right into 77.85 all the way to 80. All right? So this one's a little bit long in the tooth. If you said, hey, I'm going to trade this, it's very bullish at this point, really running hot. And so you can say, look, get gap, 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 gap. I don't know how many days that's going to take to settle itself out. All right? I would say that you want to be cautious here, especially because Russia is, they're saying that they're curbing, but they're not really curbing, and they're sending more of their product into other straits. So I think this is more of a story. Okay, so this is the end of the first video. I'm going to come back and do the futures one by itself. Again, I don't want these to be very long. And then we'll do the stocks that we want. All right? Appreciate you dealing with my voice. I know it's not pretty. It sounds like I'm a cigar smoker. But it is what it is. And thanks a lot. I'll see you soon.